great Brian Leetch.
He is considered one of the top defensemen in NHL history, winner of the Stanley Cup, and has even been inducted into the NHL Hall of Fame. But we know him as the laid-back, hospitable, and undoubtedly very intriguing man, part of our hockey family, Connecticut's own, Brian Leetch. So let's get started on where your hockey career began. Who got you interested in playing hockey?
Well, I was born in Texas, actually. My dad was in the service in the Navy. I was born at an Air Force base, and then we didn't live there for a year. I moved to California, I moved to Oregon, but I made it back to Connecticut when I was about 5 and a half, 6 years old. And my dad had played through high school, started hockey late, played into college, actually went to Boston College, became an All-American. So he had hockey sticks around the house, and they have little videos of me grabbing a cutoff stick and hitting a tennis ball around the yard and watching Bruins games and yelling, "Or Esposito shot score." So I enjoyed it from a young age that I don't even remember, but I didn't start skating till I was in Cheshire, Connecticut, when I was about 5 and a half, 6 years old. And it was right around that time we just started at a clinic and then on to putting full equipment on and playing games.
So how did your dad get you interested in playing hockey, or was it just you were just born with that passion?
Yeah, I think he laid a stick down in the basement and I picked it up, and that was it. It was nothing that he needed to teach me. It was exciting. He was actually the first manager at the Cheshire Skating Center in Cheshire when we moved there. And our neighborhood was filled with kids my age and older. And he kind of went through the neighborhood and said, "Let's go learn to skate, let's learn to play hockey." And you know, I loved it. I loved being with my friends, and when we get on that ice, it's never easy to learn to skate, but we all did it and we all had fun.
Do you recall the moment where you were totally hooked on hockey?
No, I think that's just something, I enjoy sports, all sports. I enjoyed baseball. I mean, in the neighborhood, we'd be playing wiffle ball, kickball, you know, kick the can, whatever, tackle football, touch football, whatever you could think of, we were doing in the neighborhood. So hockey was just part of that. I mean, you had to drive 5 miles to the rink, which wasn't that big a deal, but it was kind of along the same aspect as doing things with your friends that you enjoyed.
What was one of your fondest memories from youth hockey?
Well, this is kind of a strange one because it's not even on the ice. Like, I remember we used to skate and play the game or play the practice, but what I looked forward to is when we get off, we'd probably be in half our equipment, and we'd go into the corner of the rink with our sticks and a tennis ball or a rolled up piece of tape, and we'd have 5-on-5 in the corner, and guys that didn't play goalie would get to play goalie, so I'd play goalie with my boots on, and you know, you'd borrow the goaltender's blocker and his glove, and I just remember afterwards, like, who was going to get to play goal, who was going to get to play goal, or no one wanted to do it on the ice, but everybody in the corner of the rink wanted to do it. So I always think back about that as my life revolved around hockey on the ice, but yet I looked forward to getting off and playing street hockey with my friends.
Where did you play youth hockey?
Most of it in Cheshire, Connecticut. I grew up playing right from mites right through to high school. I played 2 years at Cheshire High School, so all the way through that was in Cheshire, Connecticut.
When you were in Cheshire, who was your greatest influence from your youth?
Same as my biggest influence in my life would be my dad. My mom and dad together, but my dad in relations to hockey. He was head coach or assistant coach of all my teams. And you know, the amount of traveling that you do as a parent, taking your children to games, you know, you look back on that and realize how important it was. But he was always there, you know, never pushed me, provided me the opportunities, and I feel very fortunate for that.
Now, did your dad have like any catchphrases to like keep you going and keep you into it?
No, I remember at some point when I was going through that adolescent quiet period, you know, he'd start talking to me about the game afterwards and I wouldn't say a word. And so he tried to get me to just talk more, and he said, well, give yourself a grade on this game, you know, on 1 to 5. And so he'd just try and get me to open up on it. And he always would laugh when we talk about it now. He'd look back and say, you were pretty good. If you had a good game, you'd say just under a good game. And if you had a bad game, you'd say just over a bad game. You know, if you were playing as a 2, you'd say a 3. If If you played as a 5, you'd say a 4. So he goes, you did a good job.
So no letter grades?
No letter grades, no. 1 to 5. And that was really just to get me talking, because he wanted to find, he just wanted to talk to his son, and I was going through that stubborn phase for sure.
Absolutely. Do you remember when you started lacing up your own skates?
I think it was Pee-wees. And I don't know if I say that because my son is a second-year squirt now, and some of the second-year squirts are starting to tie their skates, but mostly the parents are. And I said, next year, my son's name is Jack. I said, you're on your own. He goes, I know, Dad, I know. So, and I think back, it was right around the same time for me.
Now, do you use waxed or unwaxed?
Unwaxed.
Does your son use unwaxed too?
Yeah.
Is it easier?
I find it easier. I'm tying a lot of skates. I help coach, so there's a lot of kids I do, and when it's cold, those wax ones are tough to get off. They stick in there tight, and when you have cold fingers, they are tough to get off. So, and I always use those unwaxed before, but got to stay up with the times. If you liked wax, there's no reason not to use them.
Absolutely. And what were some of your greatest life skills that you learned from hockey?
Well, it's hard to really put a finger on that when you're going through it as a kid. I think life lessons are all on experience, but certainly being in a team atmosphere and knowing how important it is that everybody is doing the same thing or doing what you're supposed to and working hard in practice, and just the importance of teamwork, that no matter how good your best player is on your team, that guy cannot win it for you alone, and you need each player to play to the best of their abilities and play within a team concept. So those were kind of big thoughts back then when I was 10, 11, and 12, but when you look back on it as you're getting into your teen years and into college, you realize that you've learned that when you were younger, and it becomes easy to apply when you get older.
Now, what did you learn from your youth hockey that built the foundation to keep you going through prep school and through college?
Yeah, that's kind of a tough question. I kind of go back to when I was, that first question about enjoying sports. Right. And it's just something that was fun for me. It was fun to win as a group, to share in that. I don't think you can force kids into becoming better players if it's not within their ability. All you can do is try and have people reach their potential, and if that allows you to go on and play further, that's great. And I was fortunate enough that I did, but all those things with teamwork and getting along with different personalities, and all that happens when you go to school and when you play in team sports.
Now, aside from street hockey, what was the best thing that you did on the ice to have fun?
Just practicing. Just being able to, after school, know that you get to see your friends again, and then you're doing some activity that you like. I think the thought of having to come home, just do my homework, and then not have friends to be around is kind of a depressing thought. And
absolutely.
When you have something to look forward to, I knew either I had to get part of my homework done before we went to practice, or I had to get my work done after, because if schoolwork wasn't getting done, then I was going to have to sacrifice my sports, which I didn't want to do. So I think that was what I looked forward to, is being with my friends.
So speaking of friends, do you still talk to the kids that you used to when you were in prep school?
A few of my prep school friends for sure, and some from Cheshire High School. But it seems like the majority of friends that I have now are from when I went to Boston College, and I only went there 1 year, and yet I went back each year after my NHL season was done, and I would meet more of their friends and more of their friends. So I'm lucky a lot of them are still in the area now that I live in here in Boston, and I get to see a lot of them.
That was our first segment of our 3-part interview with Brian Leetch. Who's your biggest celebrity crush? See how Brian answers this question and many more personal questions next time.